Are you ready for the recruitment trends that could disrupt your hiring plans? This week, we'll be joined by Josh Campbell, Head of People and Capability from Tritium, to unpack the trends defining this year's hiring landscape and what they signal for employers and job seekers alike. As hiring confidence softens and job seeker confidence rises, where should the focus for employers be? Also on today's show, how are Australians working today compared to 10 years ago? People to People's Chair Mark Smith joins us today to help us break down this latest report from the ABS. And lastly, are you looking to hire quality talent fast? We have 3 new top candidates that are ready for work across Australia. Welcome to our Australia Market Update. My name is Peta Seaman and I'm the Managing Director at People to People and Edge Recruitment in South Australia. Hiring in 2026 is being shaped by shifting confidence and changing behaviour on both sides of the market. Employer confidence has softened, job seeker confidence is rising, and economic uncertainty is influencing how quickly businesses move and how selective they become. So who really holds the power right now, and what trends will define hiring this year? To discuss this topic further, we are joined today by Josh Campbell, Head of People and Capability from Tritium. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks, Peta. Great to join you today.
Thank you. To start off, can you tell us a bit more about yourself and Tritium?
Yeah, definitely. So look, I've been in the industry for almost 20 years now across the retail, the engineering, the hospitality, and now the tech industries. And I've had the pleasure of being in the industry through many technological changes, but I've never seen anything as crazy as the time that we're currently in. And what a fascinating time to be in the industry and to speak to some of the candidates that are coming through the pipeline, you know, the days and the weeks, since the changes since last year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Before we get into the data, how would you describe the hiring market right now in 1 or 2 sentences?
Yeah, I think it's a fascinating industry where there's softening economic conditions which are causing businesses to be more cautious, but at the same time, unemployment is still very low, which is causing candidates to be more discerning.
Yeah, absolutely. Hiring confidence has dropped to 48%, down 15% year on year, while job seeker confidence has risen up to 58%. Does that gap reflect what you've experienced on the ground?
Yeah, definitely. Businesses are being more cautious with their hiring processes. And we're seeing even in the 𝘁cie data, a drop in December of the amount of job ads that are being posted, but we're not seeing a drop in the amount of candidates that are applying, which means that people are being more cautious from a candidate perspective, but businesses are not looking at engaging in preemptive hiring or constructive hiring because of the marketing conditions or the market conditions that are happening at the moment.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Looking back over the past 12 months, what major shifts reshaped the hiring landscape and how are those changes now influencing behaviour on both sides of the market?
Yeah, most definitely. I'll say what everyone else is saying in the industry, and the AI revolution is still here and it's still evolving. So what we're seeing is not a replacement where AI is taking over the world and automation's taking over the world and removing entire segments of the market. But what we're seeing now is an augmentation of roles where the traditional degrees that candidates are having to be required to move into roles are not as important. Recent PwC research is indicating that people are more interested in skill sets of the candidates as opposed to their formal qualifications. And that's really reflected with where the industry is going with the augmentation of roles with AI versus those traditional pen and paper roles or the complete removal of those roles as well too.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely a lot of change happening. How has economic uncertainty changed the speed and decisiveness with which businesses move once they commit to hiring?
Yeah, I think the people that are watching would probably agree that businesses still remain very cautious with the roles that they're posting. We're not seeing a huge uptick in the economy in Australia. We're seeing somewhat of a soft landing, especially with the recent changes of cash rate and the proposed further changes of cash rate as well too. So we're seeing a softening of the market from a business perspective. But then as I said before, the unemployment rate is so low, the candidates are expecting when they do apply for roles that businesses are moving fast. So there is a fascinating push and pull situation here where the candidates will stay in their roles, but when they do move, they are expecting to move into new roles faster, which businesses might not be able to match that speed.
Yeah, we're definitely seeing that as well. What's the one trend you would suggest business leaders should be watching very closely right now?
Yeah, I think the 2026 trend that we need to look at, if you're not going to use that AI, catchphrase, is capability mapping. And the reason I say that is for the past 20 years, a role would have been relatively similar with the skill sets required. In the past 12, 24 months, we're seeing such a shift in roles that the capabilities of those roles will need to be remapped. And the way that we approach the candidates and their skill sets are going to be vastly different right now and moving forward. So the trend for 2026 is recruitment teams actually taking a look at these capability mapping, the position descriptions, and really understanding what are we looking for in the market, because the candidates are changing so vastly and so quickly that what we previously used for the past 20 years might not be right for this year, the years going ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I would agree with those comments. So thank you very much for your time today, Josh, and appreciate you giving us your insights.
More than welcome.
Moving on, how are Australians working today compared to 10 years ago? New figures released by the Australian Bureau of Statistics reveal a quiet but significant shift in how and when Australians are working in 2026 compared to a decade ago. The report revealed that part-timers are spreading their hours across more days, full-timers are less likely to be working beyond 5 days a week, and more older Australians are clocking weekend shifts than ever before. To break this down more today, we are joined by Chair from People to People, Mark Smith. Welcome, Mark.
Yep. G'day, Peter. Great to be here again. And this is really interesting data. I know I'm a nerd and I do love my data. Probably tell, I'm wearing the only guy in Sydney wearing a tie today, so there you go. But
I'm sure you definitely are. All right, let's get straight into it. So when you look at this data, what stands out to you as the most unexpected takeaway?
Well, what stands out to me is that this isn't a generational shift at all. It's like a life stage shift. So we've got to be very careful here because there's a lot of talk around millennials and Gen X and what that actually means. But I would suggest to you that the data shows hours and work patterns are changing, but not because Gen Z works different to millennials or Gen X. It's more about when people are in life that challenges a lot of the popular narratives that are actually out there. So, for example, the other standout is that older Australians, say over 65s, working weekends is up 40% in the last 10 years. So that's not a slowdown for that generation. That's like participation in the workforce evolving. So if you're an employer out there and you're doing some workforce planning, you need to factor in flexibility across life stages, not just age groups. And if you're a job seeker, the idea that your generation works differently really isn't the full story. Context matters more than labels. So, for example, Peter, you know that in my head, I'm still 28.
Yes. Yes, you are. Excellent. Well, part-timers working 3 to 4 days a week has risen by 6%, while full-timers working more than 5 days has fallen by 5%. What does this tell you about how the work week is evolving? Well, and is this a true picture of modern work in Australia, or are there gaps the data doesn't show?
Well, it's interesting. It tells me that the structure of the week is really tightening up a little bit, So part-time roles, from my generation, was, a couple of days a week. But part-time roles these days are becoming more substantial. So 3 to 4 days, that's serious, a serious contribution. Whereas at the same time, full-timers are less likely to stretch beyond 5 days. So it's more about discipline than disengagement. So it really is quite interesting. So we can see days worked and hours worked these days. What we don't see is after hours emails, like if you're working remote and that spillover into your own time, or the mental load of constant connectivity. So it doesn't the stats that we're looking at don't really fully capture like the total picture, like underemployment preferences, people wanting to work more hours or juggling multiple jobs. So it is an interesting set of data, but doesn't really give us the full story. So yeah, I wouldn't confuse stable hours with stable engagement, for example. Yeah, that's my picture. It's an interesting and quite a changing model.
Very exciting to see some changes, I'm sure. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Mark.
No problem. See you next time.
That's it for this week. If you are looking to grow your careers or build your teams, me and my team are here to help you, and you can contact us directly through the People to People website or my team directly on 1300 121 727. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.